what was the latter Vedic period looked like. Okay, so in early Vedic period, we have seen that major of the occupation was dependent upon the pastoral kind of economy. Okay, and slowly they started to have the settled kind of agricultural system. So here in the later Vedic period, we'll see that the agriculture would be increasing, settled agriculture would be increasing, number of houses would be increasing, and the pasteurization would be decreasing. Okay, so here the development of the villages, the development of the villages would be resulting into the formation of the towns and cities, Now here, not only the urban areas are getting developed, but we find that the society is also having a settled protocol structure. Okay, now the society was divided into the Varna system. Now this is the pyramid of Varna system. Now what is Varna system? Varna system is dividing the societal occupations into the four ways, four tiers. Okay, so that is Varna system. The Brahmins were the priests who used to do the godly things. Okay, the Kshatriyas were the warriors who used to administer and protect the society. Okay, the Vaishyas were the herders, farmers, or the peasants and the craft persons or the merchants. Okay, and the Shudras were the farm workers, servants, and the laborers. Okay, so these Shudras were considered as the lowest tier of the society, and the Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, and Brahmins had lived at least a good life. At least the Vaishyas had lived the good life, provided the Brahmins and Kshatriyas were considered as the topmost people. Okay, especially when we come to the marriage relations. Okay, when we come to the marriage relations, Brahmins and Kshatriyas were allowed to marry the woman from the Vaishyas and Shudras, but the Vaishyas and Shudras were not allowed to marry a woman from the Brahmins and Kshatriyas. Now these were the protocols being put on the society. Now there were n number of protocols. Such protocols, there were n in number. Okay, but this is just one example which I gave you. Okay, now these Shudras were considered as the non-Aryans. Okay, and the other three tiers were considered as the Aryan people, and that is why you will see that in many of the public occasions, only this three kind of people, or the people from these three tiers, would be only allowed to enter. So here you can see that the discrimination has been increasing in the society as and when the Varna system got developed during this Vedic period. Okay, so this had changed the way of life also. Okay, this had changed, the Varna system had changed the way of life also. Why? Because it is written in the text. Now who wrote the text? Brahmanas, the priestly class, wrote the text. Now in the text they wrote about the life, that the life should revolve around the 4 to 5 phases, major 4 to 5 phases. The first phase is the Brahmachari phase. Okay, Brahmachari phase. Okay, here you need to get skilled. Okay, here you need to get educated and you need to get skilled. Now Brahmacharya is the phase from 0 to 25. Okay, that is, a child gets built up by his parents. A child is brought up by his parents. Okay, he is being educated in the Gurukul by his gurus. Okay, and after taking all the shiksha from the gurus, he again returned towards his Karya Kshetra, that is at the home. Okay, and now after attaining the age of 25, he should handle the Grihasthi ashram. Grihastha ashram. Now in this way, now this is Brahmashram. Brahma ashram. The life was divided into 4 ashram. So Grihastha ashram. What is meant by Grihastha ashram? Griha means home. Okay, so here he should get married and he should start his Grihastha ashram. Okay, that is, he should have children, he should earn some of his livelihood to get his family in a good condition. Okay, so this is the Grihastha ashram. Okay, after that it was the third ashram known as the Vanaprastha ashram. Vanaprastha ashram. Now, this Vanaprastha ashram was the ashram or the phase of the life when you had completed the marriage of your son and the daughter. You have seen your granddaughters and the grandsons. Now, this is the time to hold over each and every responsibility to your future generations and go towards the forest life. Okay, giving behind all the worries of the life. Okay, so you need to evolve through moha and maya and begin your journey towards your forest. Okay, so the forest journey begins. That is why it is called as a Vanaprastha. Okay, Vanaprastha ashram. Okay, now this is done after the 50s. Okay, this is done after the 50s according to the text. Okay, now after the Vanaprastha ashram, there is Sannyas ashram. Sannyas ashram. Now, there comes a time in the life, at the end of the life, when we realize our self-soul as well as the immortal things in the world. So, this is the time to leave everything and take the sannyas from the worldly desires. Okay, so this is the fourth ashram, that is sannyashram. Okay, so here, according to the text, okay, which were developed during the latter Vedic period, there were 4 stages of the life, 4 ashrams of the life. Okay, so these were the stages or the ashrams of the life. After that, there were also declared the aims of the life. Okay, the priestly classes also declared the aims of the life, and these aims were called as Purusharthas. Okay, these aims were called as Purusharthas. So, these Purusharthas were divided into 3 ways: Kama, Karma and Moksha. Kama, Karma and Moksha. That is, every individual who comes to the birth, okay, who takes the birth on this land, he has to do some or the another kind of karma, okay, or the karma. Okay, after that, after doing these duties, he also needs to attain the moksha. Okay, that is leaving behind all the worldly desires. He needs to give his experiences, his knowledge to the future generation, and he needs to attain the moksha. Okay, and then only he can be living the free life from this birth cycles. Right now, this was considered as in the Vedic or latter Vedic text. Okay, now after that, they also talked about the Varna system. Now we have recently talked about the Varna system. What were the Varna system? It was divided into the 4 tiers, 4 Varnas: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Shudra and Vaishyas. So Vaishya is third and Shudra is fourth. Okay, so the first 3 were the Aryans and the last was the non-Aryan. That is why the last was never considered in the public occasions or the public ceremonies except the funeral occasions. Okay, so this 4th tier was called in only one public function, and that was the funeral occasion. Okay, so many of the discriminatory practices were being followed during this age. Okay, now after this, we'll find that there was a development in the religious aspects, right? Just now what we saw, that there were n number of religious developments, right? After that, there was also the economical development and the socio-political development also. Okay, now the text like Samveda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda, Brahmanas, that is Atriya Brahmanas, Aryanakas and Upanishads were developed during this period. Now in early Vedic period also we had talked about the Yajurveda, Samveda. Okay, so yes, they were developed during that time also, but they had extended their versions in the later Vedic period also. Okay, now here I have said that the villages were converted. Okay, the villages were converted into the towns and the cities. Okay, towns and the cities, and the cities were converted into the kingdoms. Okay, and these kingdoms were called as the Kurus, Panchala, Kosala, Kasi and Videhi. Now these are all the kingdoms that were developed at the river basin only. river basin only. Now Kuru was developed after the Kuru kingdom was established after the 10 Rajans war. Okay, and then the Panchala. What is meant by Panchal? Panchal means people. Okay, Panchal means people, and that is why that particular area was called as a Panchala. Okay, after that the Kosala, Kasi, and Videhi. Okay, so these were the major kingdoms that were developed, or what we call as Janapadas, that were developed during the latter Vedic period. Now see the difference. How does the map gets evolved? Indian subcontinent ka map gets evolved. Now we have talked that the Indo-Aryans had invaded this Indian subcontinent during 1700 to 1500 BCE. Okay, now they majorly resided in this areas. Okay, they majorly resided in this area, and this area, okay, this area they had fought 10 Rajans war. Okay, and in this way they acquired all the territory of the non-Aryan people also, that is of the 4th tier people also. Okay, that is Shudra people also. Now slowly they would be encroaching towards the Gujarat region, towards the Gangetic Valley, as well as the central India. Okay, so here you will see that they are covering up till the Vindhyan range. Okay, they would be also covering the Kasi, Kosala, Videhi, Panchala, Samfala, Maghad. Okay, so this Maghad was considered as one of the greatest spear of cultural activities. So whatever texts, whatever literary evidences you will get, you will majorly get it from here, the Maghad region. Okay, Maghad region. After that, some of sorts of kingdoms also went at the West Bengal region, that is Vanga and the Pundra. Okay, now after that, slowly it will start to get into the southern region. So in southern region we have Kalinga kingdom, we have Vidarbha kingdom, we have Andhra kingdom. Okay, now initially they were the small kingdoms, but slowly they will be turning into the larger regions. Okay, they would be turning into the larger regions. Now if we see, when they turn into the larger regions, okay, this region, the northern region, okay, is called as the Aryavarta. Okay, now this is known as the Madhyavarta, right from the Vindhyan range to the Godavari river. Okay, this is Madhyavarta. Okay, and this is Dakshinapath. So here the Indian subcontinent is divided into 3 major regions: Aryavarta, Madhyavarta, and the Dakshinpath. Okay, so in the Aryavarta we would be having 16 Mahajanapadas. Okay, in Madhyavarta again we would be having different kind of kingdoms, but their history would be coming in the forward chapters. Okay, now we are firstly concentrating on the Aryavarta only. Okay, now in Aryavarta, during the early Vedic period, we have seen that these people knew the gold, copper. Okay, and there are also some of the evidence that at the end of the early Vedic period, we have seen some of the evidences of the technological development, and that is why they were known about the iron. Okay, iron as a good kind of, or the good source of metal which can be used in the agriculture as well as the irrigation purpose. Okay, so here the advent of the iron age was already done during the latter Vedic period. Okay, beyond that, as I have said, that they were technically developed. Okay, so here the pottery would be making more development, the pottery industries would be making more innovations and the research. So here we'll again see the painted grey ware potteries. Okay, painted grey ware potteries. So here the painted grey ware potteries were majorly done at the river side, and that is why many of the kingdoms which were situated geographically on the Gangetic plains, okay, they would be having large amount of industrial activities. Okay, So here the Upper Ganga Basin was the major industrial area or the hub. Okay, and after that we'll see, once this particular area gets prosperous, was first as they get more prosperous, so this prosperous cities would be converted into the Mahajanapadas, and there were important 16 Mahajanapadas. Okay, so the 16 Mahajanapadas consisted of the both rural and the urban villages and the cities also. Okay, now this 16 Mahajanapadas, okay, 16 Mahajanapadas was also means deriving the Madhyavarta also, deriving the Aryavarta also, and deriving the Dakshinpat also. They were combinedly known as the Bharatavarsha. Now this Bharatavarsha comes from the name King Bharat. Okay, King Bharat, from the Bharat clan. Okay, from the Bharat clan. Okay, so the Bharatvarsha name comes from that particular clan. Okay, and that is why it is the impact of the clan system which was evident in the Rig Vedic period. Okay, now the southern division of Jambudvip. Okay, now this Bharatvarsh continued up till the southern division of the Jambudvip. What is Jambudvip? Jambudvip means the Arabian Sea and Indian Ocean. Now there is no evidence of the Bay of Bengal. Okay, there is no evidence of the Bay of Bengal. The Indian subcontinent was mainly considered as the Jambudvip. Jambudvip means an island of the 7th continent of the world. Okay, so yes, there are some of the debates that India was that time like a newly part of the Asian region. Okay, because if we see, there were also the evidences of the Himat word. Himat. Now what is meant by Himat? Himat means the mountains, Himalayan mountains. So we find the Himat word in this Vedic text also, and after that the Jambudvip also. So it is evident that the Himalayas were present in the north and the Jambudvip was present in the south. Okay, so they knew the land is up till the southern tip of Tamil Nadu. Okay, or what we call it as up till the tip of near the Sri Lanka. Okay, so they knew everything. Okay, so Jambudvip, and they knew only two seas, Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean. There is no evidence of the Bay of Bengal there. Okay, so this is one of the point to be noted.